Hello and welcome to another high-octane episode of Full Throttle here on Unprecedented TV. And we're brought to you in association with the Alliance of British Drivers, because that's where I'm from. I'm Paul Nailer, Head of Communications at the ABD, fighting for your right to drive freely without endless green burdens and all the nonsense associated with it.
Hi, I'm Brian Gregory. I'm Policy Director of the ABD. And as Paul indicated, we're going to have another interesting session because we've invited back Brian Catt, our good friend who was on quite a few episodes ago now. We thought it was time for a review of what it is that's going on in the climate at the moment, both scientifically and legally, because there's a lot going on in both areas. So without any more ado, let's get Brian on the programme and we'll crack on. This is Full Throttle.
There I am.
Welcome back, Brian. Good to see you.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's quite all right. We always enjoy having a discussion with you. First thing, tell us about how your new book is coming along.
No, it's not a book, it's a paper.
Paper.
The first problem. I'm just completing a paper which is about it's a technical paper, which I will make into some form of 3-pager top-level description, which I'll put on my Substack, which is Brian R.L. Catt. Does it say that? Oh, it does. That worked. Some of this stuff works. If there are problems with the technology, by the way, that's a one-off problem for me, but I'll get this to work better next time. So I will describe this in much more simple terms, but the paper actually takes apart the climate models and compares and stress rather what the measurements tell us. And it turns out that what we measure to be the case, literally how science is done, you measure things to check whether they really happen, say quite clearly that models are wrong. And I've looked at the reasons. I've managed to find a way to actually work out pretty accurately how the planet actually controls its temperature in space. It's quite an interesting thing to consider when you stop thinking about the idea that it's sitting there just nice and cozy and static and it's always nice and stable. It's nothing of the sort. It's a cold rock if the sun isn't shining on it and a load of heat is belting out the back to match the amount of sunshine that's hitting it on the front side. And that has to be in balance all the time. And the way it does that primarily is it evaporates the oceans, and there's a conveyor belt of damp air going up to the troposphere where it dumps the heat and comes down again as rain. And that's one of the major effects. So I'm put numbers to all that. Then when you go and look at the models, you find that the assumptions they make about this system are completely at odds. Well, not completely, but strongly at odds with what the science actually knows they are, and the satellites looking down at the Earth and measuring. The key assumptions of the models are just wrong. But we're told we must believe the wrong assumptions, the output of models which are based on wrong assumptions over the measurements of things we actually measure, which I think I can summarize quite quickly as saying, if you're bothered about CO2 as a significant effect, don't be, because the only changes we've been able to measure, if it's the dominant control of change, the only changes we've measured since 1850 are an increase in agricultural productivity and a reduction in the number of deaths from extreme events, because it's better being warm and more people die when it gets cold than do when it gets too hot. And those are the two key things. So there are no negative effects as a result of the 1.5 degree warming since 1850. And in fact, if you look at how things have changed in the past, it's quite likely that most of this change is natural and a small part of it is due to carbon dioxide. So you shouldn't be wasting money trying to fix something that's making life better for you. The other thing is the industrialization that has caused the additional release of CO2 has actually made things so much better for life on Earth, and about, I forget what it is, 97% less people or whatever. It's reduced the death rate around the planet by such a massive rate and brought more people out of poverty than you could possibly imagine. So the benefits of actually creating the CO2 in terms of generating energy for transport, heating, powering machinery, whatever it is, are huge, and there are no benefits we can measure. So there's all benefit and no cost.
Not forgetting mobility as well. People are able to travel unlike they ever could. Before the Industrial Revolution.
But that's not good for the. That's only a benefit if you're an ordinary person. It's a problem for the elites who have always been able to move around and scheme amongst themselves as to how they're going to control people. Exactly. And if people start getting mobile and wealthy enough to actually have some spare time to think and question, they're not going to be so easy to rule anymore, or to tax, or to anything.
That's, I mean, absolutely. And of course, the big. It's about. But I mean, we already know from the historical record that, you know, the Holocene Optimum was a lot warmer than it is now. And, you know, then we had the Minoan warming, the Roman warming, medieval warming, and then this current warming. And in between, we had cold periods. And, you know, the evidence is there, but the climate crazies try to ignore it and pretend we've had a stable climate, you know, forever. And it just... That's not the case.
No, and there's a wonderful video on this which I share. It's on my actually, that's the other thing. I didn't put it up there, did I? Safe Science. Yeah, if you go onto Safe Science for You will find several short videos there, and one of them is actually is a guy called Prof. Stephenson from the Niels Bohr Institute in Denmark.
Yes,
explaining exactly why. He's presenting the ice cores that they drilled in one of the. There are several that they've been drilled in Greenland, and pointing out he doesn't actually come to any particular conclusion about what causes climate change. But what he does say very clearly is that if it shows 1850 was the coldest it's been in 10,000 years of records. It was a lot warmer back in Egyptian and Roman times, and it's impossible to say what's causing the warming now, whether it's humans and it's just a natural recovery from the coldest it's been in 8,000 years, which is where we were in 1850, or whether some of this is by human cause. You just can't say. And the other thing, of course, in all of this is if you look at the record you just mentioned, Brian, which is back 3,000-4,000 years ago, it was 2 degrees warmer, and the CO2 levels were 2/3 what they are now. So it can't possibly be a control. And if you go back to the last ice age, which is a nice one to get into, I said I'd pivot into this, didn't I? People don't understand. People have no idea because they're not told what the truth is. This is an interglacial period now. It's a short warm period that occurs roughly every 100,000 years. There's a reason why it's roughly, not exactly, because there are 3 cycles involved to do with the Earth's orbit. In the Eemian interglacial, the last one, and in fact the 3 before, but the Eemian was a doozy. It was 4 degrees warmer at the poles. In Greenland, there was no ice. No ice. It was all completely thawed off, well, apart from a very little bit in the north, in a basin in the northern Greenland ice core, and there were hippos swimming. At that time, the tectonics were pretty well like they are now. So we were 50 degrees north in the UK, and there were hippos swimming in the Rhine and the Thames, and cave lions and elephants marching up and down the banks. So that's an ordinary interglacial. If you go back to the interglacial before that, same again, 4 degrees warmer. Go back at another one to nearly 450,000 years ago, another interglacial. Guess what? 3 or 4 degrees warmer. All of them at 2/3 of the level of CO2 that we currently have. And the other thing is, as you look at the changes of carbon dioxide compared to temperature throughout this up and down period, guess what? The CO2 change lags the temperature, which means the changes in the CO2 are caused by the change in temperature, not the other way around. So that's the natural reality. And things like that, I've explained them all on Safe Science for You. As with myself, I talk about, you can see the graph if you go there. There's one of the ice ages, 4 ice interglacials going up and down. Now is a runt of an interglacial. It got off to a very cold start. It didn't get as warm as all the others, and it managed to hop up to where it should be for a bit, and now it's on its way down. In fact, I should go that way, shouldn't I? It's on its way down to the next glacial phase. And the idea that it will stay the same is bonkers, because if you look at this trace, and I will shut up in just a second more, every 1,000 years there's a short cycle, and during that cycle, because it's not, again, it's three main cycles combined together, like playing a chord on a guitar, if you like, three separate notes.
But the cycles all have different periodicities, so they overlap in different ways.
So imagine playing a D chord on a guitar, the top 3 strings, for instance. That is a good analogy. And you can actually, they have, in fact, analysed the change that we see in the short term, and it's got 3 or 4 cycles in it, and it repeats every 1,000 years, and about now should be a maximum, and from here it should be getting colder, actually.
So this is the Ludecker and Weiss thing, really, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
There's a paper by Ludecker and Weiss. So if anybody wants to just write down Safe Science, what it says at the bottom there, Safe Science for You, and go and click on 1 or 2 of these things. Some of them are blindingly obvious, and they are not what you've been told. And the one that's I'm going to do some more in the series. The one I recorded most recently starts off saying, I just want to tell you that you've been lied to. You've been lied to by your government. You've been lied to by the academics paid to lie by your government. And you've been lied to by your media. And these are the facts which you can check that they have lied to you about. And then I bring all these other things in.
Yeah. But of course, most people don't do that.
Going back to the paper, sorry, the paper will appear in short form. And the balance of the Earth is literally what I mentioned at the beginning. It's explaining how the Earth, which, without the spin of the solar system would be an absolutely cold, frozen rock in space, is being blasted by 122 petawatts of energy from the sun, which it then radiates off to space. And there are some basic laws of physics which say how that works. So this energy is passing through the system all the time. And the way in which it is absorbed and then returned from the sun and then returned to space is what I've looked at.
But the way it's being sold at the moment, Brian, is that the atmosphere acts like a blanket and actually keeps that energy in. But the atmosphere can't do that because the planet's suspended in a interplanetary space, which is at like 3 or 4 Kelvin. So there's 280 odd degrees of a temperature gap difference between space and the Earth. So it's got to radiate at a hell of a rate.
Yeah, well, yes, it does that, but in fact, it gets quite complicated. The first and most important thing to understand is almost all the heat that's lost from the surface of the Earth and the oceans is not radiated. And that is one of the immediate misleading arguments about models. They say, oh, well, there's this greenhouse effect that attenuates the energy which is trying to leave the surface and get out to space. And actually, it does just that. That is what it does, but it's a very small effect on the radiation that's leaving the surface. But most of the energy isn't leaving as radiation. It's leaving the oceans as water vapor. The latent heat, anybody who's scalded themselves on steam knows there's a lot of energy in steam. Well, the same thing goes with water vapor. Huge amounts of energy are convected away from the oceans by the heat of the sun.
Yeah. And
they go almost up to what's called the tropopause, which is the top of the thick part of the atmosphere, the top 99%. And when they get there, then the water vapor condenses into clouds quite quickly.
Yeah.
And that releases the energy then as radiation to space. Those who are listening who know any science know that it's the only way you can transfer radiation through a vacuum Sorry,
Yeah.
energy through the
Energy
vacuum
through
by
the vacuum.
radiation.
Yeah.
But the point here is that the energy that's leaving the heated surface of the Earth and the lower atmosphere isn't moving radiatively. It's lifted up by convection because it gets hot. And so it's not affected by the greenhouse gases at all.
Yeah.
That process is not affected. The only place that greenhouse gases can have an effect is when this energy becomes radiation up above the clouds, if you like.
Yeah.
And at that point, the greenhouse effect is so small it doesn't matter. So there is a greenhouse effect. So the radiation that is leading for the surface is attenuated by the greenhouse effect, but it doesn't warm anything. That's the other thing. We just had this discussion with somebody else. Say, oh, well, they say the atmosphere warms the oceans. No, it doesn't, because of what you said. Heat has to go from a warm place to a cold place. It's the second law of thermodynamics.
Yeah.
Yes. It's emitted by anything that's warm in all directions, but more of it is emitted to cold in the cold direction than the hot direction because the temperature gradient is higher.
Yeah.
And so energy always travels from the surface to space because it's cold out there.
Yeah.
It's dead simple.
Yeah.
And it doesn't travel all the way of radiation. The majority of it, biggest feedback of all, the feedback being the planet has to maintain its energy balance, so it has to a negative feedback is cooling energy leaving the planet in response to hot energy coming in.
Yeah.
I can give you a concept. You might find this vaguely interesting. Anything that has a temperature, like me, or this pen actually, anything at all that isn't at absolute zero, minus 273 centigrade, is absorbing energy and releasing energy at the same rate all the time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would. Yeah,
absolutely.
You can see how that is.
People don't realise that means there's energy circulated within that body at any temperature above absolute zero, because the molecules at absolute zero, all molecular motion, all atomic, it stops. So
buzz.
Say again.
I said buzz.
Yeah.
All those little molecules are buzzing, and the only time they stop buzzing is when there's no energy around to excite them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's 273 minus 273 centigrade.
Yeah. And we think the average temperature of the Earth is somewhere around about 14 or 15 Celsius from averaging across temperature measures, and so that means that the planet's at about 283 Kelvin or something like that. But
288. The interesting thing, actually, if you go and watch Carl Sagan talking about this, or one or two other people, they make the point, which is quite interesting, which you can see the different forms of radiation by viewing the planet from space. And if you look at Earth from space, you'll see a blue-green planet. Well, that's the energy that hasn't warmed the Earth. That's the energy that's being reflected from the oceans and the clouds and the ground and the green bits.
Yeah.
If you look at it and it's black on one side and shiny on the other, right?
Yeah.
Because the sun's only faces, half of it faces the sun. If you then turn the knob on your camera,
go into infrared,
to a different frequency, to the heat frequencies, infrared.
Yeah.
Then the whole planet is glowing all the time.
Yes.
Because it's absorbed. The oceans cover most. The oceans are really what matters. The land has very little to do with any of this. The oceans hold all the energy. They're 4 kilometers deep. They're heated down to a depth of about 200 meters by the sun, and they absorb a lot of energy, which sort of is now at a fairly steady state, so that we don't freeze to death at night. Because when the sun goes out, it would get really cold really quickly if it wasn't for the fact the oceans were there to keep things warm. If you go to Mercury, to give you an example of how extreme this can be, if you go to Mercury, on the sunny side of Mercury, which goes around rather slowly, but it does rotate in front of the sun, it's a lot closer, and the surface of Mercury is at the melting point of lead.
Right.
If you go round, as it goes around in its orbit and goes around to the dark side is at the boiling point of liquid nitrogen.
Fair old differential. Yeah.
Because there's nothing there to stabilize it.
Yeah.
It literally, as soon as the sun goes off it tries to get back to minus 273 C.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing there to excite it.
So
whereas in our fortunate case, we just happen to be far enough away from the sun that we can have liquid oceans. If you get a bit nearer to the sun, you get to Venus, where it's getting twice as much energy from the sun during the average day, which is day and night, and that's enough to boil all the oceans off. So in fact, all the oceans are in the sky, which makes it awfully hot at the bottom. Because that is a greenhouse gas. But the one thing to remember is the sky is not warm, the atmosphere is not warmed, and the atmosphere does not warm the oceans. The oceans get warm, and then their heat is sent to space through the atmosphere, and the greenhouse effect simply gets in the way of that radiation escaping. And then I didn't really finish how does it get warmer then? It gets warmer because it has to, because if you cut the amount of radiation that's going out, the cooling radiation, then everything has to warm up until it's balancing the sun.
So energy in equals energy out, and that might mean a slight change in the Earth's temperature to equalize the rates of incoming and outgoing energy. But the idea that Guterres has of some sort of runaway warming and a tipping point is just completely ridiculous because of the mechanism you just described. That that's never going to happen. Well, never going to happen this side of the sun stopping burning hydrogen and starting to burn helium, because then we're in a different set of physics there. Then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's about a few billion years away.
Interesting things. There are interesting things in the longer term. And I just thought today I must redraw this graph, because we always look at a rather stretched version of how temperatures have changed over the last 500 million years. And in fact, they've been pretty much flat for the last 500 million years. And then they've cooled off quite a lot to get down to this current ice age. And the interesting thing is it's cooler now than it seems to have ever been in the last 500 million years of any form of multicellular life on Earth. And yet the sun is getting brighter. So go figure. It's a mystery. They think, and I tend to agree with the theory, because I came to the conclusion just by thinking about the figures, that it has to be with the way in which the land is arranged on the Earth, i.e. there's 30% of its land, but it's moved around the place, and the ice age was almost certainly triggered by the fact that North America and South America joined up, and the oceans couldn't exchange water between the Atlantic and Pacific anymore, and that's exactly when the current series of ice ages started. And it looks as though the way in which the Earth absorbs the sun's light, sun's energy, and returns it depends on where the land is. Because, but the other, it's a very asymmetric Earth. I will explain. I have here, he said, going away. I'm back. This is the southern hemisphere of planet Earth. It's ocean. It's basically all ocean, apart from some nondescript bits of land like Australia and Antarctica, which is all covered in ice. And then you go to the north side. And you've got that, a lot of land, which is 50% land. Which is why the North Pole in the ice age is much more unstable than the South Pole, because the South Pole's got 4-kilometer deep oceans circulating around it, keeping it all about the same temperature.
Yeah.
Whereas this bit is land, which loses all its heat straight away at night.
Yeah.
And so the temperatures here vary about 3 times as much during the Ice Age cold periods as the southern hemisphere does, because it's surrounded by oceans. It's much better than looking at me, isn't it? So there you go.
So Brian Catt, if we do go down this net zero route, other than it being hugely detrimental economically, what are the negatives that come from them achieving net zero?
Well, you wreck your economy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't make much difference.
That's the only thing that will destroy the economy of the West. Well, and allow it to be transferred, basically the manufacturing economies of the West to be transferred to China. It isn't going to do any of that.
No.
They are going to do a bit, but because they've got such a big country, they can effectively deploy solar panels, for instance, in Tibet, in the Tibetan plateau, and Xinjiang, which is northeast Mongolia. Why? Because they're the driest, sunniest places on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Which I didn't know until I checked. So they're held out now. Oh, they're massively deploying. Well, they're deploying quite a lot, yes, because they can, because it's in a place where they've got almost continuous daylight. Sorry, I don't mean continuous daylight. I mean blue skies most of the year.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Here it makes no sense at all, because it's an 11% duty. They work at 11% of their rated power, because half of the time it's dark. And in the winter, when you need the energy, there isn't any.
You can't store it.
Yeah. Whereas in the summer, when you don't, they're pumping it out at a massive subsidy.
Yeah.
So we're spending a huge amount of money to have this energy generated when we don't need it.
Yeah. So other than it destabilizing the economy, which I totally get, would it potentially destabilize nature?
Well, no. Net zero, no, because we don't make enough. We don't make enough of the total emissions of carbon dioxide. We only make about 3.5%. The rest is made by nature, and we have no control over that.
Yeah, and that's the point I'm making.
The other point. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, sorry. No, what I'm saying is that there is no net gain from it if it was a success. You know, if the zealots had their way. There's no gain from it. There's no negative impact if we don't do it. So why on earth are people pushing on with this, especially when the UK is such a tiny landmass compared to some of these huge hulking countries, and all they're going to do is benefit them?
Well, the
we're 1% to 3.5% of global carbon dioxide emissions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is it's a logarithmic decay, as Brian knows. Does this look like my right shoulder?
It does.
Yeah.
So my left shoulder on my picture.
We've got to the stage now where effectively the absorption by carbon dioxide is almost saturated, and you can add more and more and more, and each amount you add adds less and less and less.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
exactly.
You know,
so,
and the other thing, Brian, is we know that the level of level of energy that's involved with the transitions with water vapor and things like that are much bigger than with carbon dioxide, because carbon dioxide is only a tiny volume, and we're talking about energy changes that relate to the molecular motion of carbon dioxide. Whereas when you're talking about water vapor, you're talking about condensation and evaporation, and those are much bigger energy changes than you get with small changes in the rotational vibrational spectra of gases. Yeah. And there's 9/10 of rock or carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
Two things.
Go on, sorry, Brian. Where do you go?
Two things. It might help your listeners just to give examples, which might show how stark this is. If you go from 10 to 20 parts per million of CO2, or 100 to 200 parts per million of CO2, or 1,000 to 2,000 parts per million of CO2, the temperature effect is exactly the same.
Yeah.
For any of those doublings.
Yeah.
Right.
So going from 200 to 400, which we almost have since the coldest part of the last ice age.
Yes.
It's all an ice age. The glacial cycle of the ice age, we've just about doubled from there. But to get that much change, we'd have to double it again. So we'd have to go to 800 parts per million, from 400 to 800, which is almost impossible because there's not enough stuff to burn. And any assumption based on that doubling is really a stupid one.
Yeah.
So that's the numbery thing.
Yeah, Charlotte, can you show the slide that shows it says 10 infographic CO2? That's the one. There we go, Brian.
Yeah.
So that basically it illustrates that.
There you go. Yeah, that one.
It illustrates exactly what Brian's been saying. The other comment to make is that when this first started to try to make an estimate of the equilibrium climate sensitivity, which is how much would the temperature rise if you double CO2, the estimates were ridiculous, 6 or 8 degrees or something for a doubling. But now the estimates have come down, and most of them are between sort of 1/4 and 1/2 degree Celsius for every doubling of CO2. So it's not going to make much difference, as Brian said. If we increase from 400 to 800, it might be 1/4 or 1/2 degree. Well, that disappears in the monthly changes in average temperature that you measure from satellites.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even be able to tell it had happened.
Yeah.
And another thing, I was talking about, there are only benefits.
Yes.
And so measured so far, and we've got, according to the agriculturalists, a lot of this. The Climate Change Act was based on how agriculture was going to be destroyed by a warming, and it would be a huge economic cost. Well, actually, the opposite has happened. We're getting more agriculture per unit area from having more CO2 and a warmer climate, and we're about 3 to 4 degrees short of the optimum temperature for global crops.
Yes.
So we going further isn't going to tip us over any magic edge. It's not going to happen.
No.
So the only thing that can happen with more CO2 for the foreseeable future, centuries, is that things can only get better, as Tony Blair famously played, Brian Cox famously played to us.
Yeah.
So, why would you do that when the evidence you have says that things can only get better with a bit more warmth and CO2? And the answer is because it's a corrupt system. It's enriching the elites who pass the laws and giving careers to pointless academic parasites who just keep pumping out stuff that says that agrees with everybody else, the consensus, which is not a scientific method at all.
No, exactly.
These people, it's an absolute legalized fraud on the science that you measure.
Yes.
And they're not, and that's the whole point. If they use the science that we measure, there's no justification for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the science is based on the modeling. The science is based on the modeling. It's not based on the
science is based on something.
measurements.
The science is based on something they made up using assumptions that they guessed. It's not based on facts.
Yeah, yeah. And if you see that you do an experiment and it makes predictions, and you compare the predictions with reality, and reality goes like, which way should this go? Reality goes like that, and the models go like that, then your models are wrong. End of.
No, not in this world. Not in the world of climate change. The data is wrong. The measurements are wrong. That is what people. The majority of people believe that they should trust the measurements as they're described by a load of corrupt academics, rather than go and check the data, which says something completely different.
Yeah. That's because we've got a science based on ideology rather than on fact.
Yeah, they must be really frustrated for people like John Christy, who's explained all this so many times and done the measurements as well to show that the models are just ridiculously
Where is the graph?
hot.
I can put the graph on, but I don't know how. Huh?
Which graph
Sagan,
is that? He wants the graph putting up, Brian.
I've got it. Can I put it up?
Yes, you can put it up if you've got it. By all means, I have got it, but it wasn't in the.
I might screw up, but I'll try not to. Oh, go away! As long as I don't close the wrong window and mess everything up. Right.
Suddenly disappears.
How do I find things on? Oh, how do you find things on a PC? I'm going to click on the screen.
Use File Explorer. What am I looking for?
If you go down to the bottom of your screen, there's a plus sign in the middle of a monitor. If you click on that, you can share screen.
Yeah. No, I'm just looking for if I can find. Oh, I'm in the wrong. Sorry, I'm on the wrong computer. Forget about it. You find yours, Brian. It's all on my other computer.
I'm looking for it now.
So Charlotte can add it in
John Christy has mapped all of the models and the average of all the models and compared it with the measurement from satellites and balloons, and basically shows that the models are like hot rods. They just go, and the actual measurements are completely different. I'm just trying to find that slide now.
Yeah.
So while you do that, Brian, Mr. Catt, what do you make of the Ed Miliband and Gavin Newsom?
Yeah. We can quite easily. I can say it quite easily. Yeah, just what you said, but to be clear, if you plot all of the model predictions and you average them out, and you plot the actual measurements that are taken by satellite by more than one outfit. Christy does this at the University of Huntsville, Alabama, but there's another lot called RSS that do it. If you plot the actuals, which are calibrated quite carefully by balloons as well, so that they know that they measured that temperature using a balloon, as well as the satellites looking down with their instruments, which cover the whole Earth really well, because I like doing this. The satellites are polar orbiting satellites, so they're doing that while the Earth is doing this. Right. So they cover the whole Earth, all the remote oceans, everything. And what they find is that the models are consistently 2.5 times. They are predicting 2.5 times the change that actually occurs. I mean, that's 150% error. Yeah. And that has been consistently wrong since 1979 when we started to have satellites. Yeah. So it's bonkers. Basically, they're lying to you. The people who do this have no idea what they're talking about. What they do know, the people, the liars in power, the ministers who write the acts and the rest of it, is they're going to make a packet out of it, and they do. Yeah. There's 4 or 5 ministers I can name but won't, just in case you get sued, that say, but you can prove it quite quickly. They've all made millions by being advisors to or directors of or invested in, or they've advised somebody else. There's one of them that runs an investment family invest company that advise people what to invest in while running one of the major committees involved in recommending the laws to pass. They are making millions. So that's why you get the laws. And the academics, of course, have all got a living out of it. And they doesn't matter if it's wrong. If you're an academic, you can just write papers that are rubbish, as long as they get published. And so they don't want this to stop. They're basically parasites on the taxpayer who are lying to you to keep their jobs. Yeah. Gosh, I should find this. It's really annoying.
You must find it very frustrating, Brian, that you can't seem to get the message across to these people. What are your thoughts on people?
Well, they're not interested. I mean, it's very difficult to persuade a man that something that provides his living is untrue.
Yeah. So
what are you? They're not going to say, "Oh, yeah, I've been lying to you all this time."
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the likes of Ed Miliband and Gavin Newsom and what's been happening over the last day or so? where we've struck this
I
clean
know that.
energy, the clean energy deal with California.
I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah. So basically,
What's he doing?
Going against the grain of Donald Trump, California is signing up with this clean energy deal with our dear Mr. Millibrain, and Donald's not very happy.
Well, what's he going to do?
Well,
Yeah, but
Donald can do all sorts.
How does that work?
Exactly. So we got a state.
What are they going to do? What's the deal?
Well,
if it's anything like in the UK, Millibrain is now talking about putting satellites in space to capture energy from the sun and then feed it down to the Earth by, I'm not sure what the mechanism is, but the whole thing sounds completely crazy, because we'd have to...
That's almost impossible. You can't do it. And you certainly couldn't. How are you going to beam it down? This is like some sort of James Bond movie, it's nonsense.
Yeah. That was my immediate...
They can't make it work on the ground. Those solar collector towers, with all the mirrors around them in the desert in Spain and California, they're a complete waste of money.
Yes.
They just don't produce enough energy for the money that it costs. And imagine that you've got to lift all that stuff into space and build it, and then you've got to reliably focus it on a mirror on the Earth, 250,000 miles below or whatever. No, it's not that much. 25,000 miles below. But it just nonsense.
It is completely mad.
Yes, it's his GB energy lot, is it?
I can't remember, but it's he signed up to. It's the next step in renewables to actually put these satellites in space, which is going to cost a colossal amount of money and deliver probably very little, but it will use a huge amount of resources and money to no good effect, which is what we're already doing with renewables in general.
Yeah, well, if you want to generate energy as cheaply as possible, you do it on land, near where you need it, where you can get at the thing if it goes wrong. If you want to do it expensively, you can go and try and do it at sea, which is really bizarre and daft, because it's a bit windier or whatever. I don't know. They'll start floating solar panels on the North Sea until that won't work because we're drunken Russian skippers driving through them. But anyway.
Found it.
So, I mean, it's just... And if you want to be really stupid, why do it at sea when you could do it in space? How much do they think it costs to lift things into space? When you look at what is lifted in... How much energy it takes to lift a little lunar orbiter.
I've found it. Now, how can I share this image?
So if you go down to the bottom of your screen where you've got the monitor with the plus sign in it next to the video camera.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, if you click on that and then the share screen.
Right. Share screen, I see. I mean, they're all different, these different...
They all do the same things, but in different ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Now let me just choose this. So, come on.
Share screen. Oh, I can do that. If I have the picture.
If I maximize this, can you see that?
Not yet.
Why is it not? Oh, wait a minute.
And now we've lost him. Oh dear.
So long, it's been good to know you.
I'm sure he'll be back in the chat very soon. So what do you see as being the turning point for all of this net zero nonsense? Do you think that at some point the weight of public opinion is going to make these people back down and stop putting in such stupid ideas that are basically bankrupting the country? Brian.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
What was the question again?
Do you think that the weight of public opinion will eventually have... Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yes. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Yes, it's back. It's back. Yeah.
I can see and hear you. Yeah. Do you think the weight of public opinion will eventually turn the tide on this net zero path that we're going down?
Well, yes, it has to, because, as I keep saying, in the end there is only one truth, and all the rest is lies.
Yeah.
The problem is that we have a very poorly educated and gullible public who are easily led and don't seem to care about what the facts are. They just try to choose who they trust. Well, you don't need to trust if you actually understand how science works.
Yeah.
And until people learn that the facts are the facts you measure are what is real, and all the other stuff they're telling you is a lie, because they know any expert must know they're lying, because we know what the facts are. We've measured them, and they know what the facts are because it's their subject and they can read the papers.
Yeah.
So, the reality is there is only one truth. There's an American senator, it was accredited to, I think, who famously said to one of his colleagues in their legislature, you're entitled to your own opinions, but not to your own facts.
Very true.
And if people understood what that meant and how important that is, they'd immediately know they were being lied to, because anybody who relies on a consensus and then attacks anybody who comes up with alternative facts because they're not an expert or they're don't belong to their club or whatever, they didn't go to a university, it is just doing what any rubbish defense lawyer does when they're defending a criminal who's obviously guilty. They attack the witness.
Yeah.
The credibility of the witness, because they haven't got anything else. You either have evidence, which we do, or you have circumstantial evidence, which they try to say they have, which they're not very good at presenting. And if they fail, then they just attack the witness, say, he's an idiot, he's a, it doesn't, and people believe that. What's really sad about it is that as many people believe it because they've been told it by authority and not questioned it. And I find that very sad. It means we're not a technological society. Carl Sagan does a talk just when he was dying. I can't remember the exact line. I'm just saying what people said, but it's clever people have summarized it better than I have. It's the point. And he said, we live in a society which is exquisitely dependent on technology, when none of the people who are running or ruling the country understand it.
Yeah.
And he said, we're up for grabs for the first charlatan who comes along, who comes ambling along. He said, because nobody can, and you can't question the government, who don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, this is,
how is that going to end?
We've probably all worked for businesses where the person that's got the most confidence has risen to the top rather than the most ability.
Yes.
We've all worked in companies like that.
They're already there, but how do I get them full screen?
The sales guys, that is.
Exactly, the sales guys.
Sales guys run companies because they lie best. And some of them even believe their own bullshit.
Yeah. I had a chat once with a sales manager. Yeah, I had a chat once with a sales manager at a place that I was working at. And he said, I've always prided myself on earning more than my age. And I said, well, as long as you don't aim for your IQ, you should be all right. And, with that, the conversation was over.
Yeah. But people like that learn techniques as to how to make people think they're clever when they're not. Now, I recommend everybody who's listening, if there anybody ever does, to look up the Dunning-Kruger syndrome.
Dunning-Kruger,
which basically says the reason that the really clever people who are skeptical, i.e. they use the scientific method and disagree with what's being said, people like Happer and Linson and the rest, who I've talked to and who I can actually ask questions about the science, they can't explain it to ordinary people because they think, because they are who they are, that the people they're talking to can understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
And they can't. They're not clever enough. They're just too thick, basically. That's just sad. But not everybody's as clever as the academics. That's why they're in the university.
I've just done a quick Google of that, and it summed it up rather nicely. So yeah, thank you for that one. I'm going to use that a lot.
The other problem is that the stupid people don't understand that they're stupid, and they think they understand as well. So there's no conversation, no way of the two groups actually exchanging information.
I think the Dunning-Kruger effect has quite nicely summed up the state of the nation.
Have you got the John Cleese thing on it, or what have you got there?
The one that I've got randomly is the AI overview. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias where individuals with low ability or knowledge in a specific area overestimate their own competence, often due to a lack of self-awareness, metacognition, identified by psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger in 1999. It also suggests that high performers may underestimate their skills, which is exactly what you just said. But that's it's very not just amusing. That.
The last bit that you haven't got there is that they don't understand that the other people are as stupid as they are. They think they can communicate with the other people when they can't, because they can't put things simply enough for the stupid people to understand.
It says that they lack the expertise necessary.
Which is why there's so much fraud. It's why con men and politicians can actually survive, because most people are easily fooled.
Yeah. I think we've stumbled onto something here. Yeah.
I'm struggling manfully here to get. I've got the slide up, but I don't know how to get it full screen.
Right.
Oh, shall I go back?
I'm sure Charlotte will be able to share it in the edit. So just describe what you're seeing there, Brian. Hey! Hey!
Hey!
95% of climate models agree the observations must be wrong.
Right.
Which is the total inversion of the scientific method.
Well, it's all marked up. It says average of 102 CMIP model runs in 32 groupings, and gives the reference, and it shows. It has an arrow pointing at the observations.
That's the Christy one, the one that John Christy produced.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I have somewhere, but I just can't seem to lay my hand on it at the minute.
But can you see the one I put up? That's
yes. Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a little bit neater, isn't it? A bit clearer.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because it's me doing it.
Some of my favourite people are called Brian.
Yeah, well, you can't get enough of them.
You can't. You definitely can't.
Anybody who remembers the advert? I wish I was clever like you, Brian.
I do. What was that for? I remember that.
It was Heinz Beans or something like that.
The one I remember is I've fallen off my chair, Brian. Which was the George Best character in the 1948 show being interviewed about his football career. I'm opening a boutique, Brian.
Brilliant.
And then he fell off his stool.
Well, as you do.
Yeah.
Where's the Christy one gone? It's really annoying.
That is the Christy one.
I know it is, but I've got a version of it, the same version, but I seem to have lost it somewhere. Which is
I'll tell you what, I'll send it. I'll do it. I'll do you a big. I'll tell you what I'll do, my boy. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll send it to you.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Got it somewhere. I just can't see the damn thing.
I tell you what, you guys are making this a challenging episode for Charlotte to edit.
Re-record, not fade away.
Oh
That's
dear!
another ad.
I messaged her. I've told her she's got probably
That's
enough.
Derek Geiler doing video.
That was Scott's videotapes, wasn't it?
Was it? I'm not sure.
Maxell might have been.
Yes, I'm sorry, you remember. Yes, it was, actually. I'm going to tell you how it's going to be.
There's a nice one from Greenland Ice Cores that's showing the various different warm and cold periods in the last. Well, it's only. Oh, hang on. I mean, is that? Yeah, it's 2000 BC roughly to now, so about 4,000 years. Ancient Egypt.
That's on the video in Safe Science.
Oh, is it? All right, and it's all color coded. It looks really nice. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
But I'm going to do that. I'm going to do my paper in the format of "You've Been Lied to."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have. I mean, there's no getting around it. You know, they've been. We've been subject to the mushroom syndrome, kept in the dark and fed manure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the thing you have to remember is that most of the people who vote for these things have no idea what they're voting for.
Yes.
And it's very important that people understand that their MPs do not vote on the merits of a bill. They vote for the bill that they're whipped to vote for. They don't understand it. They don't read it. And they rely on the assertions of the minister. It's all okay. And the minister, of course, has been told what works by the civil servants. The minister every 5 minutes and has no idea. Most of the civil service are moved on every 2 years, so they don't know what they're talking about either.
Yeah.
So whoever is providing the advice and information, which are the elites with the money, are the ones who are actually making the laws on things like this.
Yeah.
And it's all about how do we monetize this so that, you know, basically people can make millions out of investing in it, be they the banks, big companies or rich individuals. But nothing to do with saving us from global warming.
No, absolutely nothing. Entirely to do with enhancing their own status and fortune and all the rest of it, and keeping the masses subjugated.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's, when it comes down to it, all that the government does is to monetize any issue it can monetize, and it leads to the statement which I didn't understand properly when I first heard it, which is, given the government will try every solution to a problem that it has before it tries what works.
Yes. Yeah.
Finally. And the reason they do that is what works usually doesn't warrant lots of subsidies and taxes and investments. So they pick the ones that will monetize the problem best for the elites first, and they gradually, as they all fail, come down to what does work for the people who actually elect them. So it's always the same. It's always a fraud. Whatever problem there is. So some of this stuff, where they talk about the science being used to lead them, well, you know, this weather thing, this climate change nonsense, they use the word denier for all the people who opposed it because they could link it to the Holocaust denial as if that was a bad thing. Well, of course, we know that denying is exactly how the null hypothesis is how you test a theory in science. What they don't say is that what the Nazis did was justify what they did in the Holocaust through the science of eugenics.
Yes.
And they told people this was the science, and they promoted it vigorously. Dr. Goebbels promoted it vigorously as the truth. So they could go away and murder a few people because the science said it was okay.
Yeah. Die große Lüge, as they called it, the big lie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you know, the good old German peasant believed it and joined up and went off and massacred everybody.
Yeah, well, including
because they
themselves.
were superior.
Yes.
So it's easy to lead ignorant people. The ignorant and gullible are easily led. And the people who aren't, of course, are the first ones they get rid of.
Yes. Yeah.
if they achieve power like where they can.
Yeah. Yeah.
So me and you are done for.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, unfortunately.
Oh, dear. Well, chaps, I think time's
The police,
Yes.
actually, there are police. There's a blue light just pulled up outside.
You're going to have one of those lovely special hugging jackets, Brian. You'll be all right.
Yes. One of those nice tight white ones, like
That's it. Oh, you look so cozy.
Yeah. They're coming to take me away, I think the record is called. Yeah. An interesting discussion as usual. Oh, the things that we haven't actually we can just touch on, Brian, is the rollback by Trump of the climate endangerment ruling on carbon dioxide.
We did touch on it from the point of view of water vapor.
Well, yeah, the other thing is now that the Greens, having failed with carbon dioxide, are trying to roll water vapor and carbon dioxide together, or think they will, but I think that'll just knock the bottom out of their reasoning, because it's impossible to, it's bad enough trying to regulate on carbon dioxide, but water is so essential to everything, to the whole of how our climate operates. You can't control or put controls and binding targets on reducing global levels of water and water vapor. Only an idiot, a complete idiot, would try that.
Well, wait a minute. If you do that, if you have more water vapor, then it's cooling the planet, not warming it, because the cooling effect is much higher than the greenhouse effect.
Yeah, yeah. But then,
that's the point I was
hasn't stopped them doing stupid stuff. Hasn't stopped them doing stupid stuff before.
No.
So
the whole point is it's nothing to do with the science. It's got to do with what they can legislate and argue in the courts. And the courts say they don't understand the science.
Yeah.
It's just a complete nonsense.
Yes, but that's what you get when you've got lawmaking by idiots. So it's going to be. It's going to be.
What Carl Sagan said.
Yes, it's going to be.
I refer you to the answer. I refer you to Carl Sagan's answer.
Oh, I think Brian's locked up there. So we'll have to try and hunt out this Carl Sagan quote and patch it in.
Flash it up on the screen. Oh, he's back.
He's back. Okay.
There he is. He's back.
Right.
What was that quote again, Brian?
Yes.
The Carl Sagan quote that I gave earlier. When a country an economy is exquisitely dependent on technology and nobody understands it.
Right. Yeah, and we are fast approaching that stage, because of course our young people are being dumbed down, so they'll have no chance of understanding, or the vast majority will have no chance of understanding the technology in 20 years' time. When we're,
well, the process was started. It's Blair really that started all that.
Yes. Yeah.
But even before that, the universities were the first ones to be compromised by the slow march through the institutions, the standard communist method. So they got all the lefty teachers who never have done a proper job in their lives and never will. They're just parasites. And they indoctrinated them in university when they had no ability to actually question what they were being told anyway. So they had a movement they could belong to and take into their teaching profession and start telling these things as facts that they'd been told as facts and couldn't question to children who had yet to develop the critical reasoning to question them. So everybody's indoctrinated, and everybody's been to universities, been told this rubbish is the case. And I was teaching A-level before COVID to students doing A-level physics and maths, and they're being given examples in physics to say why it's important to reduce CO2 and how much damage CO2 will do if you increase it by this much and that much.
I would have loved to have been in on that lesson with you, Brian.
Well, I explained to them, I said, well, look, if you want to pass the exam, this is how you answer the question. But while I'm here, this is complete rubbish.
The
economics, then they all stopped doing maths and physics, okay, because it's too hard. And they started doing economics. So I decided I got myself the tutor book and started teaching economics because I'd learnt it when I did my MBA. And I had to, one of my students, his dad was a banker, investment banker, in the posh estate over in Seven Hills. He was getting confused about money and credit and things like this, and he said, "Well, where is all this money?" I said, "Look, you don't understand, do you? Ask your dad. There isn't any money. It's all a con trick. It's all entirely based on confidence in people's ability to pay their debts. All it is entries on a computer that I owe you this and they owe that, whatever." And if somebody decides that isn't the case, the whole system goes down a handbasket. You might as well have Bitcoin. And he said, well, how do I put that in? How am I going to write that down? I said, don't write it down. You'll fail. The truth. They don't want to know the truth. They want you to repeat back to them the lies that they've told you. The Laffer curve and all this stuff, right? We've done all that, right? So let's go back to what the examples in our book, because this book is telling you how to answer a question if you're asked it according to what they want you to say. It's got nothing to do with reality.
Like so much of what goes on today. Anyway, where are we now? Yes,
we are an hour and 10.
Wow. Okay.
So I think we'll call that a good day.
Economics. All right. Super. A-level economics.
Now, Charlotte, feel free to leave this bit in if you like, but good luck editing this one.
Yes, absolutely.
And Brian, we'll have to have you on again soon. And there's so much to talk about.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how things are developing. You've got head-on collision now, really, between the warmist establishment in the United States and Trump, who's basically just trying to dismantle them. And of course, over this side of the Atlantic, the whole of the European Union and this government are all totally aligned with this crazy climate scare stuff. So the thing is going to brew up very nicely over the next few months to a year, coming up to the next election, I'm sure.
Yeah. Right,
Oh,
I have a point to make in closing.
Go on. Last one. Closing point.
Let this be the closing point, since we've overrun a bit, Brian.
It's not the case in Eastern Europe.
No,
you just said
it certainly isn't.
Not the case in Eastern Europe. Giorgia Meloni doesn't think that either.
No. It's very clear
the
that
Eastern Europeans. If you look at a map, I'll send it to you. There's a political map of Germany which is quite interesting.
Yes,
and it shows where the AfD supporters are and where the Christian Democratic Party supporters are,
and where the old border with Eastern Germany
the
was.
AfD are in the old East Bloc.
Yeah.
Right? Because they've had communism and they know what communism is, and they can see communism in West Germany. And when Gorbachev wrote his memos, he famously wrote that he was totally confused as to why. This is after they'd failed, the Soviets had failed.
After Perestroika, after the wall had come down.
He couldn't understand why the Europeans were repeating the failed communist experiment.
Yeah. But
That's what
you can see it all in
Gorbachev
the attitudes and actions of people like von der Leyen. They're all just repeating the mistakes of the repressive communist communist so-called republics. Yeah.
Do you know about pre-bunking?
Oh yes, you've told us about pre-bunking. Yes. Yeah.
Have I?
Where they set the arguments up to knock them down before you've even made them.
Yes.
Yes.
No, well,
yes.
They pre-bunking is actually saying that if people say that this is the case, which is the truth, then they're lying.
Yeah.
And then they make their laws based on the basis of the lies that they've pre-bunked.
Yes.
I just, if that isn't, that's as, what is it? Cognitive dissonance doesn't even begin to describe that.
No.
But people keep falling for it.
Predict it. No. Yes. Yeah. Right. On that point, we'll draw a veil over the proceedings for this episode, and we'll come back to this topic over the next few months, I'm sure.
So if we all say goodbye.
You've all done very well.
Goodbye, everyone.
Yes, everyone.
Charlotte's already gone, so Charlotte can edit it.
Oh, done very well.
See you, folks.
See you. Bye.
Bye.